Welcome to Lightbulbs, the Entrepreneurship Club podcast. Today we are speaking with Bayo Adelaja, social entrepreneur and founder of Do It Now Now, an organization supporting Black-led charities and businesses. Among many other things, Bayo has worked with Google for Startups and the House of Commons, and was also awarded an MBE for services to social mobility and financial inclusion. Welcome, Bayo.
Thank you.
There's a lot to talk about today, but I'll just start with this simple question. How are you finding the MBA program?
It's been an enlightening journey for sure. The reason I came into the program in the first place was because I wanted to expand my horizons, and it's definitely doing that. I'm enjoying accessing a new sort of knowledge.
Great. So tell me more about Do It Now Now.
Very simply, Do It Now Now is a social enterprise we've been running since 2016. Our focus is to ensure that Black people in the UK are able to access services with equitable outcomes by innovating the way that people access those services and deliver those services to Black communities.
Amazing. And how was it that you got started with Do It Now Now?
I've always really wanted to be an entrepreneur and also wanted to do so in a way that was based on systems change and in using technology for good, to be more specific. So when I was a researcher at the London School of Economics, focusing on systems change from a mental health and healthcare and social care perspective, there was a significant gap in the outcome of services for Black people in the UK, as well as a significant gap in the number of Black-led organizations that were succeeding in delivering high quality services and succeeding in engaging with either government or academics in order to push the services that they were providing further. I started Do It Now because I wanted to give people the opportunity to connect all of those different players within a system that was extremely disjointed, and use technology as an opportunity to innovate in that space as well.
And when was it that you started Do It Now Now?
2016, as a community group, I basically just started running events constantly for about 3 years and tried every type of thing. Some were very successful, some were awful, and eventually found out what we needed to do, which is what we do now in 2019. So we currently deliver entrepreneurship training programs and provide funding as well as networks and opportunities.
Cool. And so obviously your organization evolved over time. As you said, you were doing events before. So how exactly this evolution happened? Was there an intentional pivot during your journey as well?
I think I was so unclear as to what I was going to do. The goal has always been the same. It's very much ensuring that a specific community is able to thrive in this country. And with that very broad goal, there was too many opportunities really to kind of deep dive into to determine what would be the best outcome. So I basically just reacted constantly. I was very willing to let my community tell me what they needed. So I was running approximately 80 events a year. I was basically me and any favor I could beg, borrow, or steal, well, maybe not steal, from friends or family members to help me run these events. I was working 2 jobs, at 1.3 jobs, in order to pay for everything because I never wanted to charge any of our service users for any of the services. So I basically just kept listening, constantly listening. The events weren't always big. Sometimes they were roundtables. Sometimes I would just make copious notes on every conversation I was having with the service user and then analyze those notes to determine what the trends are. In hindsight, I think I've had a few people tell me that it was quite structured and obvious when you see the goal and you see the outcome. But in real time, I was just rising and falling constantly, trying to figure out what people wanted and what was missing, and constantly pivoting so that I could create a new space.
Great. So the purpose was always the same and you just pivoted based on that purpose, right? So you were running 80 events, as you said, in a year. So that's 2 events a week. And these events were run around London or all over the UK?
Yeah, they were pretty much run in London. So the way that my contractual relationship with Google for Startups started was because I basically showed up one day. I was like, hey, I need free event space. You guys give free event space. And eventually that became a thing where I got event space whenever I wanted it because they had a gap in their own ecosystem of opportunities. So I was fulfilling a need, and that became partnerships with lots of co-working spaces and started building community for them as a client of ours. but it was not all of them were big, like I said. So we do maybe a breakfast event one Monday, and then do a pitch event on a Thursday evening or something like that, and keep swapping it around. So we did an Afritech pizza and beer for people that were looking to build from the UK into Africa, from Africa into the UK. And that eventually became a thing that people would fly in for from Europe and from Africa in order to be there at those times. And we would match them with investors around the UK as well, around London specifically, really.
And so that's basically the power of bringing Google to the table, right?
Yes, it would definitely legitimized very quickly. But what actually made it a really special space was the fact that I found this really big pain point that no one was serving. There were no informal spaces for the whole ecosystem to meet on a regular basis. The frequency of the events was to keep up the regularity so that I was always the connector. I was always the person that people would ask in order to find out what else was going on in the rest of the ecosystem. So that community building was really important when it came to solidifying my own influence. That built off of Google for sure, but lots of other players contributed quite significantly.
And so what exactly is the business model of Do It Now in its current form?
So right now, our commitment to not charge our service users for our services remains strong. That may change in the future when we offer some kind of premium something or other, but that remains to be seen. What we do is essentially B2B sales with government and trusts and foundations being our customers. So we pitch our model of capacity building, funding, networks, and opportunities to trusts and foundations based on impact measurement and just a lot of really good research into the and building the evidence base that what we actually do solves a real problem and will continue to solve problems for many years to come. And we then charge the trusts and foundations and the government bodies to allow us to support 100 organizations, 300 people, 300 organizations, 900 people.
And you mentioned before our call that the benefit for the business is for the benefit for the government is cost savings, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When a charity or social enterprise in the Black community thrives, they are attracting predominantly Black people to their services and people who don't feel comfortable seeking traditional government services. So people that typically would wait to get to engage with government at the point of an emergency or the point of a critical when it becomes a critical serious issue are instead receiving preventative services very early on. So they don't end up in a place where they're having to go to their GP or they're having to go to any other government services at a point where it becomes extremely expensive to treat or relieve that issue.
And so what would you estimate would be the size of this, let's say, loss to the government and to the economy?
So we've done our own cost benefit analysis for our organization and the work that we currently do today. And we estimate that we're saving the government conservatively £360 million a year. If we want to kind of balloon that a little bit to what I actually think it is, we're probably saving around 700 million a year.
That's just your organization.
Yeah.
And so how many people are involved in this organization?
We're a team of 11, and it's basically a multifunctional team. So that's why technology means we get to do our work for a rather small fee to create large impacts because we base everything in building our own integral systems that allow us to circumvent having to pay large firms or consultancies or whoever to build something for us. So I build a lot of our stuff myself, and that allows us to basically scale all of our things. So a small team like ours can support about 400 people in depth at a single time without them, the service users, feeling like they're just one in a big cuddle. And they get significant support, in-depth support, hand-holding, the whole bit. Whereas another organization that does exactly the same work that we do might have 80 staff.
And so in terms of skill sets, what skill sets do your colleagues bring?
So I have a fantastic finance person and people in culture, impact measurement, a lot of program delivery teams. So our program delivery team are the ones that are talking to our service users the most. And our service users are the leaders of charities and social enterprises, whether they're unincorporated, so they're just at idea stage, or they are making up to £1 million a year in revenue. We are there to support them in any way, shape, or form. And that support can look like sending them flowers if they've experienced a bereavement, or it could look like introducing them to a social investor or pairing them with a financial expert. We basically try to preempt their needs consistently so that when they're in times of trouble, they feel like they can come immediately to us and we can support them.
And so these team of 11, everyone's working full time. You yourself probably working full time, but also doing a full time MBA.
Yeah, everyone's full time except one person who's part time, only because it was her life ambition to be part time. So she is, but everyone's working full time. We kind of build around what is the role that we know we'll always need, and then everything else gets a freelancer to engage.
And how would you go about finding these freelancers?
We advertise basically everywhere. We basically try to find academics a lot of the time because they have a really wide range of information that they provide when it comes to the type of entrepreneurship delivery that we are providing to our service users. But also, we really focus on trying to find other charity leaders and social enterprise leaders to come and speak to the more junior people on the journey. So there's a lot of kind of lived experience mentorship and engagement that goes on to make sure that we are continually supporting a full ecosystem and not just parachuting in experts constantly. But basically, Escape the City is one that we use quite a lot. We also use LinkedIn, as everyone else does. Yeah, those are the major ways.
So I'm going to change tracks a little bit over here. Of course, everything you've said so far, there's a lot of service, right? And so going back to your grandfathers on both sides, there was an element of services that they provided in their own time and in their own way. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. I mean, my grandfathers, I didn't meet one. I only met the other, and he passed away, unfortunately, when I was quite young. So my interest in my own family history has been based on legacy and wanting to continue a legacy of good service and good deeds. I'm from Nigeria, and one of my grandfathers was instrumental in taking Nigeria to its first Olympics. So he was a businessman and was just extremely gifted in doing lots of different types of businesses, a real kind of maverick kind of guy. But he wanted to do something that was beneficial to his country and was someone that just embodied that kind of philanthropic spirit of you don't just make money for yourself. You make money to be a blessing to the people around you. He donated almost all of his wealth when he passed away to charities. So there are lots of really fantastic schools and sports clubs and community centers that benefit even till this day from his legacy, even though he died when he was like. And same thing on my other grandfather's side. Preacher, teacher, someone that believed in local good. He started a school himself and did everything possible to make those students a legacy. And to this day, like they are the most prolific alumni group of leaders, presidents, and like so many incredible people have come from that school that he started. Both of them were honored by the late Queen Victoria for their services in those ways. And lots of people in my family have done incredible things. My aunt used to work for the WHO. A couple of my other aunts have started incredible businesses. So I just grew up around people that wanted to be entrepreneurial and were very passionate about doing something new and good at the same time.
Great. So of course there was that spiritual mentors in terms of your grandfathers and also in terms of your family. Were there specifically any other mentors that really influenced you or helped you along your entrepreneurship journey?
I mean, I have so many people that have been incredibly supportive. During COVID, we went through an extremely difficult time because the timeline, as you would have noticed, was 2016 to 2019 was just figuring stuff out. 2020 was supposed to be the big year, right? So I'd finally lined up all of these contracts. It was finally ready to go. And I'd brought on a team. And basically 2 months in, I was having to tell the team, hey, all of the contracts are gone. I won't be able, we're going to have to figure this out and kind of exit and replan. And it was extremely difficult. And I was grateful for all of the relationships that I'd formed because people just reached out to me on their own volition. There was one day in particular. I have a lot of friends that are twice my age. So 3 of them called me on the same day and basically just said, hey, I just wanted to check in on you because I know this was going to be your big year and we've been talking about it. And they just talked me through every difficult thing they'd faced over a 20, 30, in one case, 40-year experience, charities and social enterprises, things that they have exited, things that they've starting new, things that are serving 80 million people a year, things that are serving local communities. So it's just like, hey, okay. So I don't know that they'd want their names out there, so I won't say the names. But just having people that have been there and done that and feel so comfortable in any challenge that I'm facing is the best thing. But I also consider all of my I kind of engage in reverse mentoring. I seek out younger people than myself, who are starting up new in this sector, and just kind of try and open as many doors for them. But I'm also learning from how they are treating the challenges that I faced and when I was starting and that they're currently facing. So there's no like one single person that I look to, and it's kind of my mentor specifically. It's a village of people that I'm constantly reaching out to and constantly fostering relationships with.
So that's amazing that you have the advantage of that. Also having worked in London, in the UK for 10 years. For someone who maybe just moved to London, let's think of some students in the MBA, how would you advise them to develop a similar network of mentors and peers and people who can like inspire them and help them out?
I don't think LinkedIn works for that. I know that's the thing that everyone says. Message someone on LinkedIn and write a really nice message. I think it's go to events or create events. I was saying to someone recently who was trying to navigate a particular space, you have the MBA as a backbone. You can join a club, you can run an event, and you can invite the people you want to speak to come and speak at that event. That is a really great opportunity to, one, meet them, two, everyone is really grateful for an opportunity to speak at LBS. That's a big moniker to them. So you get the organic contact using the resource that you've got. I would also say go to events. The Mayor of London and Partners, they're such a great team and they're constantly doing things. So I would say go to their website and start looking at all the different events that they've got running. And the reason I say they're a fantastic team is because they really try to get to know you and what you're building and then start connecting you. So I've benefited significantly from my contacts there, where they just like constantly think of me. Obviously, I foster the relationship on my end as well. But whenever something comes up, I am one of the first people that they reach out to in their list of like, hey, I know Bayo's interested in XYZ, and I get the invite.
That's great advice. I'm trying to get involved in as many different things through the clubs and outside. It's easy to get absorbed in the LBS bubble itself. That's, I think, really useful advice. How do you manage a full-time LBA? How do you manage a full-time MBA at the same time as working full-time?
I think I'm just constantly trying to show up where I need to show up. I suppose I'm working full time, but that's mainly in compressed hours. So I only work certain days a week now. So it's not really full time in the same way. So that allows me to focus on the MBA when I'm at the MBA. So I block out days where I know if I've got a lecture that day, I'm probably not working that day as well. That allows me to focus a little bit, and then weekends are basically for catch up on studying for whatever reading I'm supposed to do. And thankfully, I do have a fantastic team who's very understanding. And one of the great things that we've built into Do It Now is I really wanted it to be a place where I would be really happy to go to work every day. And thankfully, I have a head of people and culture that's very much on the same page. And we have an incredible benefits package for all of that everyone has access to. I get study weeks. I'm not the only person doing a course at Do It Now. There's another person that's doing a 2-year course in a different subject. So we both get study weeks and days off to do specifically that. There's lots of kind of flexibility built into our policies, so I can just kind of move around as I need to as well. So it's not every workplace is suited to kind of juggle study and work, but thankfully Do It Now.
And what is the biggest lesson you'll take away from running and growing Do It Now?
I think one thing I often say to people is that if anyone had told me when I started how hard it would be to do this, I probably wouldn't have started it. But at the same time, I feel like I've changed so much as a person. My resilience, my ability to kind of accept change and move along with the times, my patience levels have increased because things move very slowly in the charity sector. So I ended up figuring I need to do lots of different things at the same time so that if one person was a bottleneck, I could move on to something else. I've learned a lot about myself. I think when you're running a business, all of your insecurities will find you. If you're a people pleaser, you will be a bad negotiator. All of these things show up so consistently that I learned that therapy was really important actually for my business success. So working out all of those insecurities or like challenges or things about myself that was stopping me from being effective was one of the big things that I have really taken away from the journey. I'm really looking forward to the next 10 years of working in this space and being an entrepreneur and being an impact focused entrepreneur. And I think that kind of transition from being extremely frightened to start, which is why I had the idea in 2014. It took me 2 years to get myself to start doing anything. And it took a New Year's resolution to make it actually happen. So being so frightened to start something, recognizing it was the hardest thing I will ever have to do in my entire life and and actually moving forward constantly. Yeah, I've learned a lot about myself, but I've also learned how to meet challenges head on and not back down.
Okay. So apart from not starting Do It Now, is there anything else you would have done different looking back?
I don't know actually, because every time I try to think of something I would have done differently, I kind of think actually I'm really grateful that it happened that way because I'm really glad about where I am today. I think probably applied for the MBA a lot sooner. I don't know if I would have gotten in. Probably would have sought this education a lot sooner because a lot of the things I was dealing with were just like fears that I wasn't qualified to do my job. Because my job is a big job in the sector. We're one of the kind of larger organizations, income-wise, not people-wise. So I end up kind of thinking, would someone hire me to do my job based on my qualifications if I wasn't the founder, would I be able to interview for this job and get it? And I still don't think so. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't. Only now my excuse that I tell myself is I've only ever done it once. I'm sure there's people who are multiple CEOs, done it in lots of different organizations, and would therefore be hired over me. But so yeah, if I could do anything differently, it would be to really focus on building up my skill set and not relying so much on intuition. But I have a good one, so I'm grateful for good intuition as well.
All right. So starting the MBA sooner, maybe starting Do It Now sooner as well. So it took you 2 years. There was a New Year's resolution. Did anyone hold you accountable to that?
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. I had a New Year's resolution and then I started working on it by myself as like just my siloed little project. And then I entered into a competition because I needed someone else to tell me it was good, and I became finalist in that competition. Thankfully, and that was like January to April. And the day I came home from that competition, because it was in Newcastle or somewhere, and I was living in London. The day I came home from that competition, I also kind of organized a get together of all of my friends. I invited 30 people into my living room that had 6 chairs in it, but 7 people came, so I ended up sitting on the floor. And I just said to my friends, hey, I think I spoke for about 30 minutes and I just laid out this life plan that was based on impact entrepreneurship, community engagement, community leadership, and wanting to do this thing that I hadn't quite formed. And I then introduced Do It Now. The thing I had just pitched, which was at the time was a crowdfunding platform, which is not what we do. Like I said, it took me a couple of years to actually figure out what to do. But those 7 people, or not 7 people, my brother is the seventh person who was in the flat at the time. But those 6 friends of mine and my brother to an extent kept me accountable. They were the ones I begged constantly to help me run events and be my usher and be my person at the catering table and be my host and all those things.
So the MBA, how is that helping you with Do It Now?
It's putting real background to my intuition because there's a lot of things I know because I do this job every day. There's a lot of things I'm making decisions about and things I think I understand, but don't have the academic language or the evidence to really defend my position. So when I started really engaging with government and large trusts and foundations, there were lots of rules in place that we weren't following and we don't follow because I don't think those rules make sense for our community and for the specificity of what we do and how we do it. But I constantly had to kind of drive home that point, and it was taking me so long to get people on my side. So I thought it would be so much easier if I could just speak their language. If I knew how to position what we do in a way that makes sense for them and then could say, okay, this is why we're not going to do it that way in the way they understand as people that have likely also done MBAs, then we'd be better positioned to win them over and get the support that we need. So basically, I just wanted to know what rules I was breaking and be able to kind of get a referee's manual, essentially.
And post MBA, do you plan to continue with Do It Now? If not, is there anything else that you're also interested in, maybe after Do It Now?
So I like Do It Now is a lifelong thing. I'm always going to be involved in it. It's so I'm never going to be fully moved on, but there are other things I do want to do. I'm really interested in fintech, because of the financial inclusion elements of it. There's really a lot of opportunities to reduce this kind of trepidation around finance management, and it's something we see so often with charities and social enterprises. The leaders who are people who've never had a education, like a formal financial education. They don't have accountants. They don't really understand it. So they don't end up they make all of their finance decisions based on their intuition, like me. And because they can't afford an amazing finance person like we do, they end up making bad financial decisions. What I would like to be able to do is build a bridge that allows them to understand the complexity of their financial position and the financial products that are available to them without breaking the bank and without having to hire someone, because most of them are too small to be able to hire someone in-house to do their finances. So being able to bridge that gap would be an incredible win.
Amazing. And when you're not working on Do It Now or in the MBA, what are some other, hobbies, some other pursuits? I read that you won a poetry competition in undergrad.
I did. The plight of the snowboarding something. Yeah, I love poetry. I'm still shocked that I won it. It's basically just a pun. It's a lot of puns about snowboarding. Anyway, I love concerts. I recently took my mum to go see Usher, and it was the most hilarious thing. Because if you've been to an Usher concert, it should be the most awkward thing to go see with your mum. But my mum and I were just cackling the whole way through. It was the funniest, most ridiculous situation. So I go to concerts quite a lot, and theatre, and basically just chat with friends. I'm a big talker, so lots of chats, lots of friends.
Awesome. I love puns myself. But yeah, that's interesting to know, and it's always fun to see an entrepreneur who also engages in other creative pursuits, because I feel like entrepreneurship is a creative pursuit in its own way. So we'll move on to a couple of quick questions. What is one book you'd recommend every entrepreneur should read?
One single book is a bit difficult because I tend to dip into chapters of books as opposed to read cover to cover when it comes to entrepreneurship books specifically. I think it's an instruction manual more than anything, but Sprint. It's the Google engineered sprint model, which basically just shows you how to sprint within 2 weeks. Because I spent a lot of my time worried that I was going to do the wrong thing, and it broke me out of that kind of cyclical thinking of like what could go wrong and actually just getting stuff done. So yeah, that was really quite transformative. I read it quite early on.
What's one misconception people have about running a startup?
That you are your own boss. You are not. As CEO, you are beholden to absolutely everybody constantly. It is like standing. There's an image of Gulliver's Travels in my head, I think, where there's the giant with all the people with the pins holding him down. That's basically what it is. Like, technically, you could just like swipe and swat away lots of tiny little things, but really, together, they're just weighing you down constantly. So being able to navigate all of the different things in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're being suppressed by your own creation is one of probably the biggest skill sets to build as an entrepreneur, so you don't feel trapped in your own machinations.
What's interesting, this is the fourth episode of this podcast, and I think this is the second or third time it's been mentioned that you're not your own boss. You only have accountability to more people. So I think this was covered to some extent, but if you could give one piece of advice to your past self at the start of your journey, what would that be?
Don't take everything so seriously. That's something I had to learn the hard way. I ended up extremely burnt out, and because I was so intense about absolutely everything. One of my friends had to sit me down and say, hey, you are going to lose friendships. You're going to lose your sanity if you keep going down this road, because you're not fostering your relationships anymore. You're just kind of doing stuff constantly and moving. You're no longer being a person, you're being like a machine that is trying to deliver something. So that kind of put me in check and quite early on. So now I'm really conscious of being a person that's relating to people as I'm doing something. Like never getting to a point where it's like all we're here to do is deliver something. We're here to be friends, we're here to be colleagues, we're here to be humans, and we're here to take care of each other. And while we're doing that, an outcome that is mutually beneficial to the people in the group should be delivered. And that's the point.
And what's next for you outside of work? Are there any personal goals or projects on the horizon?
Outside of work, the big goal is to get the MBA done. That's about it. Just being here is the goal, getting through it is the goal. No other goals are overlaying this one at the moment.
So no big concerts to look forward to.
I have a ticket broker that I work with because I don't like doing the queue thing. It's very stressful. So he told me that Beyonce wasn't going to be performing this year, which is why I got Usher tickets. And so I'm kind of protesting any more concerts on that basis because I spent the money I had saved up for concerts on Usher, Lionel Richie, a couple of others, and now my Beyonce money is gone. So I'm not talking to my broker basically, and that is ruining my own social life because I'm no longer going to any more concerts.
And here I was going to ask you the details for this ticket broker. So, what has been the highlight of the MBA so far, if you were to give just one?
I think it's mainly just how many people are coming together from different parts of the world and being so close. Our stream is so much fun. I really love kind of seeing how many people have made friends and kind of it's very like Breakfast Club-esque. Very like I always love the idea of the collegiate existence and kind of people from around the world coming together being so I've made some really cool friends I'm really grateful for, so it's just kind of nice seeing other people have that kind of experience as well.
Awesome. So, Bayo, where can our listeners follow your journey and stay connected?
Easiest, I don't post on social media very often, but the easiest place to follow me is LinkedIn. Do it bio. That's my handle.
Well, Bayo, it's been a pleasure. We could have spoken on and on about many, many things because I feel like what you've achieved has been absolutely amazing. Maybe next year we'll do another one with you. Maybe I'll be here, maybe you'll be an MBA 27, but it's been an absolute pleasure. And I know our streams have kind of finished, but I hope to continue bumping into you at London Business School. Have an amazing Easter.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, the invitation. Enjoy Easter.